Portland is an interesting city, when it comes to, I guess, the history of gangbanging specifically. I mean, it's right above California, so it would only make sense that it was there, kind of during the beginning. But to the best of your knowledge, how did Crips and Bloods come to Portland, and around what year?
I'm going to say, to the best of my knowledge, the first time that I seen some Crips in Portland was in about 1985. That was about the first time I seen some Crips in Portland. Around 1986, when Portland started getting its own gangs, Crips and Bloods, and the majority of you had the West Side Pyrus that came out of Compton from Blood. You had some bounty hunters that came from L.A. And then in Portland, you had some Fortrays, you had some Harlem 30s, you had some 7-4 Hoovers, and you had some Rolling 60s. And, that crack epidemic changed a lot of people's views. Everybody wanted to have money, man. Everybody wanted to get paid.
Now, to the best of your knowledge, were there gangs in Portland before Crips and Bloods got there?
Yeah, they had gangs out there in Portland. But I remember I was growing up, they had a gang out there called the Double Deuces. And they had the Dragons and the Baby Dragons. And those were like the black gangs. At the time, they was stealing cars, known for stealing cars. And, the gang in Portland, they weren't as developed as the other gangs. When the Crips and Bloods came to town, they were more developed. They had more finances behind them. They could buy guns, had cars, dope. You know what I mean? They had that way means of making money versus the local gangs.
And to the best of your knowledge, who are some of the OGs? Not even necessarily from your set, but some of the early people that you remember or that you've heard about that actually, brought, Crips and Bloods up there.
We had like my homeboy Face, Big Face. He was from Harlem 30s. We had a dude named Scarface out there, Black Jack. They was from Fortray. My big homeboy name was Salt Rock. Rest in peace. He was from 40s and out of San Diego. And he was one of the main people that really helped establish Crippin' over there.
Yeah, I've heard Salt Rock's name on my show before. Actually, that's interesting.
Have you? Yeah, Salt Rock was 100. He was a factor.
Okay. And when did you, quote unquote, jump off the porch?
For me, like I said, 85 is when I really seen him. Around 85, 86, around 87 is when I started fraternizing with him. I got shot in 89. 86, 87 is when I really got into the gang, street life, being a gang member.
Okay. And talk to me about KERBY BLOCC. Is KERBY BLOCC a Portland, homegrown set? I don't recognize the name other than from Portland.
KERBY BLOCC is a homegrown set out of Portland, Oregon. Street that we from is Kirby Street. They used to have an apartment complex over called the Kirby Square. At one time, it was the biggest place where they had the crack being sold at, and they had a mixture of the Harlem 30s, Fortrays, couple 6-0s over there, but mostly 40s and 7-4 Hoovers at the time when the Hoovers was still crippin'. So some of our big homies is from Hoover, some of them is from 40s, but the ones that really put us on was the 40s. So we still cool with the older Hoovers from 7-4, the Crips, and definitely the 40s. But we from Portland and we started our own thing, 07 Block Gang, and we ride the Portland car. So we respect our OGs as you should. But eventually we took hold of our own thing and did our own thing, and our little homies just respect us.
Mm-hmm. Now back then, were there more Crips than Bloods, or was it vice versa?
Portland is a city like they compare it to Compton a lot.
Okay. Or
they compare it to San Diego a lot. The Bloods outweigh the Crips in Portland about 4-1.
Okay. Damn. And has it always been like that, to the best of your knowledge?
When I say 4-1, that's being light. It might be more like 5, 6, 7-1. But it's always been like that.
Okay. And who are some of the Portland Blood sets that we would recognize down here in LA?
Well, of course, the West Side Pyrus came out there. Like I say, the Bounty Hunters came out here. You had Dimmer Lanes. You had some treetops, Hooters Park, and then the Portland branched off from there, which ended up being the Woodlawn Park Pie Rules. I mean,
what's the Mexican gang presence like down there, up there?
The Mexicans, so you had the Serranos, that came up. It was 18th Street. 18th Street fucked with the Crips, and then you had a little bit of the Norteños that fucked with the Bloods, just because of the red rags and the blue rags. And then a lot of the Serranos, when they first came from LA, the younger ones was more so trying to be Crips. Because you had a mixture of Mexicans that was Crips too.
Oh, okay.
You had some Southsiders from 18s, and then you had your 13s and your 14s. But they mixed in with the Crips just because they blue rags. And some of the younger brothers, not from the first generation, but second or third generations, was Crippin' when they got to Portland.
Okay.
Eventually, they moved further out to Mexican hoods, and they started banging 18th Street. So 18th Street is real deep out in Portland.
And you said are they still cool with Crips, or has it changed since then?
They because we went to jail, we spent time together, and we knew each other. We still cool, but they do their thing, and they do their thing. They don't really nice like they used to.
Okay. And how old were you when you joined?
I got 16 when I got in.
Okay.
I was 17 when I shot.
Yeah.
18 when I went to jail for shooting somebody. White guy called me in there, shot him in his face.
Oh shit! See, I got your whole bio. I read something about you online, so I want to get to all that. But I'm telling you,
you got the bio.
Slow, real talk. It was just an article I came across of you, so I know a little bit about
right.
you. So I'm glad we're having this conversation. But yeah, let's take it back to the day you got. Did you get put on, like, as far as jumped in or whatnot?
When I first got in, my homeboy, his cousin was from Kirby, and they was about 7-8 deep at the time. And my homeboy took me went over there, and I never got mixed in because I had 7th or 8th man on. But we had went and done some shootings that day, and that kind of put me on.
Okay. So it sounds like you were a shooter. You were the shooter.
Yeah. That's from the start to the finish.
Yeah, I want to ask you about. I know you've been shot at, from what I read, over 300 times.
About something like that.
Wow.
Around that, maybe a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more since then.
Okay.
But
yeah, because
I've also been shot 5 times too.
This article's about 8 years old. And
yeah, I've been hit about 5 times out of that.
Oh damn!
And the first time was an 89.
Ooh. Talk to me about what happened when you got shot. The first time.
The first time? Well, I was an athlete first of all, so I played sports. Mm-hmm. It was my junior year. The coach wouldn't let me play basketball on the varsity team my junior year, and my homeboys was always playing basketball over in the hood. So we had bussed over to a school called Lincoln. So we was going to school over there. Once the coach wouldn't let me play varsity, I was leaving school early, going back to our neighborhood, and we was out there playing hoop. Kirby's was playing against the 60s, and then we played a game against the CBCs, which is another group out of Portland called Columbia Villa Crips.
Okay.
So we was playing games in our neighborhood against the 60s and the CBCs. Everybody that came over that day to join us to, we was all just cripping, just having a good time, really, mm-hmm. and playing basketball. And arrived, they rolled up, Slugs rolled up, we got to arguing. We went down there to fight them. We got that ready to fight them. Somebody pulled out a gun, started shooting. I ended up being one of the people getting shot that day. And I was 17 at the time, with a scholarship to play football at University of Oregon.
Damn, dog.
So that ended the scholarship. And then from there, it was just, I was gung-ho, really, from there. Because I had lost all my dreams and my hopes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's happened with a lot of young men across America who might didn't think that they would be the the victim or succumb to gang violence, because they thought that maybe, you know, I might can escape and be the one to get out of here. Because I thought that was me at the time. And so I got shot. I ended up being in the hospital for 2 months. I got shot with a 357. It broke my leg, hit me right in the knee, went through the artery, shattered my femur. I got nerve damage, and I walk with a bad limp right now from that. And that's been since I was 17 years old.
Wow.
Well, I'm Park Bloods, and then you got the loped out Pyrus. I look at it now, and it's like, yeah, we walked up to them to fight. They ended up shooting first. But when I got shot, once the paramedics got me, when I fell, I tried to throw the gun because I had a gun on me. I just didn't. I was 17 years old. I really hadn't been in a gun battle at that time. But I'm sure had the fight not went my way, now that I'm at the age that I'm at, I probably would have shot one of them.
And things could be different.
You know, when the ambulance pulled up, they scooped me up. They gave me a mouth to mouth. They gave me a tourniquet tied off my leg. And then they found a gun on the playground that I had thrown earlier.
Damn.
To look up and see your leg turned around all the way backwards.
Damn.
You know, because my hip had popped out of the socket from the force of the 357 Magnum. And I did a full flip, like, you know, a full flip and a half, then landed.
God damn, dog.
Man, so, you know, at 17, that's crushing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And you said shortly after that, you went to jail for shooting someone.
A year later, I was handing out invitations to my graduation, and riding around, and went to a stop at the store, and the guy got out. The Blazers were in the playoffs, playing a playoff game, and he was drunk. Came up, called me a nigger, called my friend a nigger.
Wow. And
I went to the store and asked the store owner, "Hey man, can you help me out with the situation? The guy's calling me a nigger. I don't want to hurt this man. I'm just trying to leave." And the guy said, "Hey man, I give you some quarters," because at the time it was just payphones. I said, "Yeah, I give you some quarters, man. Go ahead and leave." So I went to the store to get the quarters. When I came out, the white guy had ran my friend about a half a block away. And I pulled up to get my friend, and the white guy ran up on the car, hit the car with the shovel, broke out the window. And I climbed out from the driver's side, put it in the park. While he was jabbing through the window with the shovel, I climbed out the passenger side, pulled the shotgun out that I already had in the car, ran him down and shot him. You know, he called me in there and ran him down and shot him. And so that's the first time that I had went to jail for shooting, was right then. You know, racially motivated, calling me a nigger, trying to decapitate me with a shovel.
You went to jail.
And I had the right to bear arms. I was 18 years old, and I had a shotgun.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. Was it an illegal weapon? So it was legal. It was
Everything was legal.
Wow, dog.
Everything was legal, but him running a block away from his car.
Oh, okay.
To get shot in the middle of the street with a shovel in his hand.
Okay.
And so I ended up taking a plea bargain. I was on the run for about 2 months. Seeing that it was all over the news, and that the guy was in the wrong and that I was in the right, turned myself in. Took a deal for an assault 3. Assault 3 ended up with 3 years probation. And then later on, they pulled the plug on the guy from complications of the bullet wound, of the gunshot wound.
Whoa. Damn. And did you face another charge, or?
No, they had options that they could have charged me again, but they didn't.
Okay.
Because I had already taken the deal.
Gotcha.
For the assault, they couldn't charge me twice.
Yeah. Double jeopardy or something? I don't know shit about the law.
But it would have been double jeopardy.
Oh, okay. Damn. Now I was reading also.
Yeah, so that was 1989 and 1990.
What a fucking year span that must have been. Let me ask you, down here in the 80s and 90s, it was really cracking. I mean, LA was at the height of murders and specifically gang homicides, and it was just really cracking. Anybody who survived in LA, not even being a gangster, but just survived even as a civilian through those times, I mean, I feel like you're a warrior to this day. But was Portland experiencing the same thing, or was it because, you know, when I heard Portland as a kid, you know, I'm thinking lily white, you know, houses, hippies, you know, stuff like that. I'm not thinking Crips, Bloods, and things like that.
Well, you know, the thing about Portland is that it's 7% black, but when the gangs were thriving, the communities were small. So if you knew one black community, there might have been 3 black communities all together. But when everything is crack infested and everybody's on dope, it's a war zone because the blacks are only fraternizing where the blacks are at. If you were anywhere else in the city, you were fine. But if you was in those 3 spots that only the black people could go, one of them was a store on a street called 9th in Alberta called Jack's, where all the blacks went to get chicken. They're known for chicken. It would be like Louisiana's in LA.
Yep.
Or the Slauson Swap.
Okay.
Everybody goes there. This is how Jack's was in Portland. And a lot of shootings happen there, murders happen there. If you wasn't at Jack's, there was 2 or 3 major housing facilities for black people or low income. And those were been taken out by crack, by gangs. Again, murders happen in those spots.
Yeah.
But there was no way that if you had an enemy and you was gangbanging that you could miss him in Portland, Oregon. Because there's a so limited number of blacks there that the violence number was up so high just because there was nowhere to hide, nowhere to go. I mean, you go to the bus stop,
You stand
same
out
streets,
too.
everybody's riding the same streets. You're gonna stand out. You're blackface. But on top of that, you had the white gangs, and they was deep. Where the Crips and Bloods might have been 200, 300 deep, the white boys had about 1,000.
What white gangs would you give us a couple of names?
The Aryan Nations, the Skinheads.
I'm talking those motherfuckers.
They had a group called the Rude Boys. I mean, and they was banging. They wasn't going to jail for gang banging, but that's what they was doing. They was banging.
Oh yeah.
You know, and at the time they had a couple of deaths in Oregon that was all over the news. How they had been, killing blacks and doing different things. And so part of what the black gangs were doing was going against the white boys. And then you had the Portland police, and the police department was very racist. Oregon still got in their law books that a black is to be in by sundown. That's still in their law books.
Wow, and it's crazy that wow, and then I'm sure they don't enforce it, but it's crazy that they just erase that shit. Can you just take that shit out, like exit out or something? It's crazy how, you know what I'm saying?
That and a young man just got that to Vancouver, Washington, which is just on the other side of the bridge from Portland. It's 5 minutes away. He jumped out of his car, he ran, they shot him in the back 15 times. But Vancouver, Washington is one of the most racist cities in America.
Really?
Their jail is owned by 5 judges, and the 5 judges is all white.
Making that money.
In their law book, because I had a case over there before, I got caught with ounces of cocaine over there, crack, a MAC-10, and a 9mm. Went to trial in motions. We beat it for illegal search and seizure, but we found out that the jail was owned by the judges, which is 5 judges that own it. And they still have in their law books driving while black, which means anytime a crime happens in that city, you stop the car that you see the blacks driving to try to get the criminal, whoever it might be. Any call you get, first blacks you see, you pull over the car. And that was the only reason they had pulled our car over that day, because we were driving while black.
Oh, okay. Damn, and a lot of what you said is going to go over the dumb people head out there that didn't catch that, but the jails being owned by judges is huge. I mean, that means they're profiting, so they benefit every time they put a motherfucker in jail.
Exactly. I mean, private owned jails. You stop black people, you take them to jail, you haul them off, you get a paycheck, whether they're right or they're wrong.
One of the big things they do out in Chicago is they diss the dead homies of other gangs. you know, they smoke such and such. I'm smoking on this person. I'm smoking on that person. And that's a disrespectful sign. And apparently that's bled over into now Atlanta does it. I mean, New York does it apparently. Like that's a thing now. I want to know your thoughts specifically, Smurf, on that.
You know, I got in the rap game, and around 98, I started my own label called Too Real Records. And it was called Too Real because I was just thinking, like, you know, out of all the stories and all the stuff I've been through, it's really been just too real. And my main artist at the time in 98 ended up going to jail for murder, robbery. He just got out of jail from doing 22 years. Man, to miss 1 month. And one thing we didn't do was mention other gang members' names who we banged against. Because we didn't want to give them no props. We want to make them bigger than what they already was. And so, to me, I've never agreed with putting other rappers' names in songs because you're really just promoting them. I mean, and then with the dead, I don't believe in disrespecting the dead at all. Whatever you do, why is it to the living? Fine. If they involved, fine. But the dead, you know, I was raised with respect and honor, and we just don't believe in disrespecting the dead at all.
How do you think rappers with gang ties should move when they're, you know, bouncing from city to city, state to state?
Well, for me, I can really only speak from my experiences. You know, when I was moving with my crew and we was moving around, going to different towns, I knew people personally in these towns that I was going to. And they didn't have Snapchat and they didn't have Facebook, so where you could put all your business on there. You know, we moved real privately, you know, and when we didn't move privately, it was a public event, but security was on our side. We would let you know where we were going to be. But anything off of us being in the public, it was private. And we just didn't put our stuff out there like that, you know. We made sure that we were secure because, number one, you have to secure the bag. Securing the bag means make sure the money man is okay. Yeah. And a lot of these young people, I don't see them doing that. Even if you had to, as they call it, check in, sometimes it's better to check in than for you to have to check out.
Damn, that should be a fucking quote on the shirt. I love that.
Well, you know, we try to keep it real, and we want to keep kicking knowledge because we don't want to keep bumping into the same problems. As a black man, we don't want to keep bumping into the same problems.
Yeah,
we want to reach one, teach one.
Yeah, I mean, we got it. We're burning. We're a candle that's burning at both ends, man. We're killing each other. The cops are killing us. It's like we're gonna fucking be extinct soon.
Man, it's tough. It's tough being a black man out here. I don't care if you're young, old, fat, crippled, crazy. It's tough being a black man out here. And I take my hat off to every black man out there. But we got to do better as black men to make sure that we secure our futures and our kids' futures and our grandkids' futures.
So true, homeboy. So true. I want to ask you one more question. Something as an outsider that I find interesting. But what are your thoughts on musicians who join gangs after they become famous? You know, like the Lil Waynes, Chris Browns, you know, people like that.
Well, you know, I laugh a lot at those kind of characters because to me, those are characters. And they are portraying to be characters because that's not who they really are. I mean, that's not even what's in your heart because you didn't come from the struggle of it. You can't have money, get rich, and all of a sudden you want to jump on a gang. That's not real. That's the unrealist thing that you can do. The realest thing you can do is have your money go your way and maybe pull some people up that have lived that lifestyle to live a better lifestyle, but to go out and to claim or portray to be a gang member and you're sitting in $1 million home where you're not on the front line, that's like the silliest shit to me that you can possibly do.
How much of it do you think there is extortion, you know, as far as security, you know, whatever the case may be?
I mean, part of it, again, if you want to secure the bag and secure your future for what you got going on, if you decide that you want to jump in that lifestyle, then you need to be paying. You need to be giving the bag up because you want to be around this so much and you want to live their lifestyle. They deserve to get paid for that lifestyle because it ain't been an easy lifestyle. All the funerals, you know, the house getting shot, or people, their homeboy in the wheelchair, or being in the wheelchair. You know, that's not an easy lifestyle. I mean, mentally, that's doing something to the mental. You know, so like I said, I like Wayne's music. I like Chris Brown's music. I just think that, you know, the gang thing is not them. And as a black man, show our younger peers that are looking up to you something different. They can go home and see the gang violence. They need to see something a little bit bigger and a little bit different from a man that has the money to do it.
California, we had a lot of, you know, shit popping when it comes to hip hop, 80s, 90s, obviously. Seattle was big in the hip hop scene early on with Sir Mix-a-Lot, you know, Posse's on Broadway. But right. I'm trying to figure out, has there ever been a mainstream person come out of Portland yet?
The biggest person, well, they got somebody right now that's big. His name is Amin. Amin is big right now. He had a song called Caroline. Last summer, it was all over the radio.
Okay.
Well, it might have been a few summers ago. And then Bosco. And Bosco did a lot of stuff for E40.
Bosco.
He did the Kanye workout.
Yeah, producer Bosco, right?
And yeah, the producer. He's from Portland.
Oh, okay. Never knew that. I fucks with Bosco's beats. E40 is top 5.
Yeah, Bosco Conte, and Bosco's tight. You know, he did the voice box and all that stuff.
Okay.
So out of anybody, Bosco is definitely the biggest. And then there's another guy named Nonstop. Nonstop just made some music for Nicki Minaj and what's his name? The Migos.
Okay.
And he did a lot of that music just recently. Not the guy named Nonstop, another producer.
Okay. And I know you yourself, you've dabbled in music. You got things going on. Are you what's your situation with the music?
My situation is that I had done a lot of stuff with like some Bay Area artists. One of my main artists is Ryder J. Clyde, and I had him and an artist out of Portland named Fidel Castro. They just finished an album called Rat Poison, and it's available on all download sites, digital download sites, iTunes, Apple Music, CD Baby. Rat Poison also has features a guy named Yada. Yada's real big. He signed to Maybach Music out of with Rick Ross.
Uh-huh.
And then we got Shelly Rue on there, and Shelly Rue was signed with Mozzie. He's one of Mozzie's main artists. So a lot of the business I've been doing has been with more Bay Area artists and Portland artists. But me myself as SMURF Luciano, I got 11 albums out under my label. So if you just happen to go on to Google SMURF Luciano, 2 Real Records, and you'll see everything pop up.
Yes, sir. And talk to me about the podcast, man. What can we expect from that?
The podcast is, podcast, what I try to do is I try to give people a different look. So I try to get artists that are independent, that are on the rise on there, as well as we talking about fashion, talk about some politics too, just from a street standpoint. As me being a real OG and being through the struggle, on the podcast up, and I try to get the realest people on there that I can get. And being real just means that you're being yourself. It ain't saying you had to kill nobody or you had to sell no dope. Just you being yourself and you promoting what you got going on. To me, that's the realest.
One more time, what's the name of your podcast so everybody can check it out?
My podcast is Mob Talk Podcast, and you can log on every Wednesday. I'm on there every Wednesday. The name of my record label is 2 Real Records, and Roseville Moneybag Boys Promotions. Then my newest album is called Rat Poison 2, which is Ryder J. Clyde from the original Mob Figures group, and Fidel Castro. And my newest mixtape out is called King of the Rose, starring Mozzie, Too Short, Problem, Mr. Fab. Pick it up if you get a chance.
Good shit, oh boy, good shit. I'm gonna buy one just to support. It's been a pleasure, SMURF. I
Right
will
on,
definitely,
man. I appreciate it.
For sure. I'll definitely stay in touch with you, and maybe we can cross promote or something and just, take this to the next level, man. I always like connecting with people who are.
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me on the show, man.
Most definitely.
I appreciate you having me on the show, and as brothers, we gotta look out for each other. And anytime you need me, just give me a jingle, and I'll be there for you.
Likewise, homeboy. I'll definitely stay in touch. All right. All right, man. Peace, dog.
All right, one.
Peace. Good dude, man. I'm gonna have to fuck with him. Make sure you check out Mob Talk podcast on YouTube. Big Smurf.